The Arctic doesn't forgive mistakes. Out here, survival isn't just a skill, it's a daily fight against nature's harshest rules. Temperatures plunge well below freezing. Winds carve through layers of fur and fabric like knives. Every hunt is a battle, not just for food, but for life itself. For the Inuit, this battle is more than survival. It's tradition, identity, and legacy. In this frozen expanse, where the landscape offers few favors, walrus hunting stands as one of the most dangerous and vital practices. It's not a choice, it's a way of life. So how do you take down a 4,000-pound giant in one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth? Let's find out. A single walrus is more than just a catch. It's a jackpot of Arctic survival. Weighing up to 4,000 pounds, one walrus can feed an entire community for weeks. Its rich, dark meat is packed with nutrients crucial for life in a place where farming is impossible and grocery stores are hundreds of miles away. But the value doesn't stop at food. Beneath that thick skin lies a dense layer of blubber, up to 6 inches deep, that's rendered into oil. This oil fuels lamps, softens hides, and even waterproofs essential gear, making it as useful as it is precious. And then there are the tusks. Growing up to 3 feet long, these ivory giants become tools, weapons, carvings, and heirlooms. In the hands of a skilled carver, a tusk transforms into art, connecting today's Inuit to centuries of ancestors who hunted, crafted, and survived in the same icy wilderness. A walrus isn't just an animal, it's food, fire, function, and heritage, all rolled into one. When you're hunting an animal that can crush ice with its body and weighs more than a truck, your tools need to be flawless, because there's no second chance in the Arctic. Over generations, Inuit hunters have crafted and perfected some of the most resilient and ingenious hunting equipment on Earth. At the center of it all, the harpoon. But this isn't just a sharp stick. Traditional harpoons use a clever invention called a toggle head, a piece designed to twist sideways once it pierces the animal's skin, locking in place and preventing escape. Crafted from walrus ivory or caribou antler, these heads were built to endure the cold that makes even steel brittle. Modern harpoons might feature metal tips, but they still follow the same age-old design principles. Why? Because after thousands of years of testing, nothing else works better. Then there's the line. Traditional harpoon ropes were braided from strips of bearded seal skin, processed for weeks until they could withstand several tons of force. Strong enough to hold a furious walrus, yet flexible enough to be coiled with precision. Even today, many hunters still prefer these natural lines over synthetic ones, claiming they can feel what the animal is doing through the rope. Every tool has a story. Harpoon heads stored in seal oil to prevent rust, knives sharpened to split thick hide in a single stroke, lines coiled just so they never tangle under pressure. Together, these tools are more than equipment. They're a fusion of ancient wisdom and modern adaptation, designed not in labs or factories, but through generations of cold, sweat, and survival. Finding a walrus in the Arctic is like trying to spot a moving dot on a giant white canvas, except the canvas shifts shape every day, and the dot doesn't want to be found. Despite their massive size, walruses are masters of camouflage. They blend perfectly into rocky shores and floating ice. To the untrained eye, they look like just another pile of snow-covered boulders. But to an experienced Inuit hunter, the landscape tells a different story. They read ice like others read maps. A fresh breathing hole, 3 feet wide with smooth edges, is a sign a walrus has been nearby. These animals surface every few minutes to breathe, keeping their holes open in thin ice areas where they know they're safe. The wind plays its part too. When it blows just right, hunters can hear walrus calls from over a mile away, deep, rumbling grunts that echo across the frozen silence. Understanding walrus behavior is everything. During spring, they gather on drifting ice near rich feeding grounds, where one animal might consume over 6,000 clams in a single day. Hunters track these feeding habits, learning where herds are likely to be, not by chance, but by generations of shared wisdom. Modern GPS might help mark past successes, but it's traditional knowledge, watching the birds, feeling the ice, listening to the wind, that truly guides the hunt. Because out here, the key to finding the walrus isn't power or luck, it's understanding the rhythm of the Arctic itself. Once a walrus is spotted, the real challenge begins, getting close without being seen, heard, or smelled. Walruses might not have sharp eyesight, but they're experts at detecting movement and scent. That's why Inuit hunters never move in a straight line. Instead, they weave in a slow, zigzag pattern, using snowdrifts and ice ridges for cover. Every step is deliberate. Every sound is calculated. A single crunch in the snow can ruin hours of careful stalking. At certain temperatures, snow squeaks underfoot. Experienced hunters know how to adjust their weight, rolling from heel to toe like a cat. Wind is another invisible threat. One wrong gust can carry human scent across the ice and alert the herd, so hunters constantly check wind direction, sometimes releasing a small puff of snow powder into the air to see which way it drifts. And then there's the kayak, one of the most remarkable stealth tools ever created. Built from seal skin stretched over a light wooden frame, these traditional boats glide through water without a sound. To a nearby walrus, a well-handled kayak is quieter than a sleeping seal. Group coordination is critical. Each hunter plays a specific role. Some act as distractions, while others move into position. Hand signals, unchanged for generations, guide the team with silent precision. This part of the hunt is like a dance. Slow, calculated, and deadly quiet. One mistake and the entire herd vanishes into the sea. Because in the Arctic, silence isn't just golden, it's survival. Striking a walrus isn't just a matter of strength, it's a test of precision, timing, and nerve. You only get one shot. The target? A dinner plate-sized area just behind the walrus's shoulder blade. Too far forward, and the thick blubber might stop the harpoon. Too far back, and the strike won't be lethal. And all of this happens while the animal is moving, on ice, in wind, and possibly about to dive. The harpoon throw itself is an art form, lightning fast, powerful, and surgical. Hunters spend years mastering the motion, learning to channel explosive energy into a single, accurate strike. Wind plays a silent but dangerous role. Even a 20-mile-per-hour gust can push a harpoon inches off course. But seasoned hunters don't use instruments or apps. They read the wind with their faces, their ears, and their instincts, adjusting their aim with the calm of someone who's done it 1,000 times. Coordination is everything. The team around the thrower must move in perfect sync. One person manages the line, keeping it from tangling. Others stand ready to assist or react. Every movement is practiced, smooth, and quiet. In this frozen theater, they're not just hunters. They're performers in a high-stakes routine. A successful strike feels like threading a needle while riding a snowstorm. One mistake and the walrus escapes. One perfect throw, and the real fight begins. Because harpooning the walrus is only the start of the battle. The moment the harpoon hits, everything explodes into motion. A walrus can unleash over 2,000 pounds of pulling force in seconds, enough to drag a small car across the ice. Hunters brace themselves as the line tightens, the walrus dives, and the real battle begins. This is where strength meets strategy. The lead line handler anchors their feet, knees bent, body angled like a tug-of-war champion. Other hunters rush to secure ice anchors, steel screws, and specialized hooks driven deep into the frozen surface. Sometimes, they use a 5-point star pattern to spread the load, a design tough enough to hold a creature twice their size. Float bags, traditionally made from seal skin, are now critical. Attached to the line, they bob on the surface, tiring the walrus as it tries to dive, marking its location even when it vanishes beneath the ice. The walrus doesn't fight blindly. Each one has its own style. Young bulls jerk and thrash unpredictably, while older males rely on deep, powerful pulls. Experienced hunters can tell a walrus's age by the way it fights on the line. Teams rotate every few minutes to fight fatigue, staying sharp even as temperatures drop to -40. It's not just a test of muscle, it's a test of grit, timing, and unity. One wrong move, one slip, and the walrus might escape, or worse. Because when you're holding the other end of a line connected to a 2-ton force of nature, you're not just hunting anymore. You're in a tug-of-war with the Arctic itself. The walrus may be struck and exhausted, but the hardest part is still ahead. Now comes the challenge of hauling a 2-ton animal out of the freezing Arctic water and onto solid ice. There are no machines, no winches, just ropes, pulleys, and raw human power. The first decision? Choosing the right exit point. Hunters search for a landing shelf, a section of ice thick enough to support the weight, but low enough to drag the walrus over. Some of these spots are so reliable, they have traditional names passed down through generations, like sacred fishing holes. A team of hunters forms a choreographed system. The strongest take the front, pulling in powerful, synchronized heaves. Others manage guide ropes to keep the walrus from sliding sideways. Commands echo across the ice like military calls, short, sharp, and perfectly timed. Traditional sleds, called kamu, are used as anchor points. Built without nails or screws, they flex with the ice and absorb stress like living structures. Many hunters swear these sleds could outlast modern gear, even under crushing pressure. Managing the tusks is its own job. Male walruses can have tusks up to 3 feet long, perfect for getting stuck on the ice edge. One person, the so-called tusk whisperer, is assigned to carefully guide them during the haul. Temperature matters too. If it's too warm, the ice softens and becomes dangerous. Too cold, and the ropes stiffen like frozen wire. Hunters adjust everything from grip positions to hauling rhythm to match the conditions, and sometimes nature lends a hand. At just the right temperature, a thin film of water forms under the walrus, reducing friction, like nature's own Arctic slip and slide. It takes strength, coordination, and tradition to move something this massive, but every pull is powered by something more than muscle. The knowledge that this isn't just about meat. It's about providing for a village, honoring a way of life, and proving, once again, that no force, not even a 4,000-pound walrus, can outmatch generations of Inuit resilience. Once the walrus is hauled onto the ice, the hunt isn't over. It's only transformed. Now begins the delicate, demanding task of processing an animal that can weigh as much as 2 cars. It's not just butchery, it's a carefully choreographed system of skill, tradition, and deep respect. The first cut is through the hide, up to an inch thick, rubbery, and tougher than boot leather. Hunters use a traditional knife called an ulu, a curved blade with a top handle, perfectly shaped for power and precision. It allows for long, clean strokes with minimal effort, a necessity when you're working through hundreds of pounds of dense flesh. Beneath the hide lies a rich layer of blubber, sometimes 6 inches thick. This fat is carefully separated and stored, destined to be rendered into oil for lamps, food, and waterproofing. Nothing is wasted. The meat, dark red and packed with protein, can feed several families for months. And the liver, it holds more vitamin C than oranges, a crucial source of nutrients in a land where fruit doesn't grow. The bones are just as valuable. Heavy shoulder bones become tools or sled runners. The tusks, cleaned and preserved, are used for art, carvings, and ceremonial items. Even the organs have a purpose. The stomach might be stretched into a drumskin, while the intestines are transformed into waterproof clothing. But perhaps the most remarkable part of processing isn't the tools or the strength, it's the distribution. Every part of the walrus goes to someone. Elders receive choice cuts. Families in need are given generous portions. Skilled carvers get the tusks. This isn't random. It's a carefully maintained system built on fairness, respect, and survival. Preservation techniques blend the old and the new. Some meat is flash frozen by Arctic air. Other parts are fermented using traditional methods passed down through generations. Storage pits dug into the permafrost act as natural freezers, holding food perfectly for months. Processing a walrus is a massive task, but it's also a moment of connection. Young hunters learn by watching, helping, listening. Elders share stories, point out each muscle and organ by feel alone. The entire event becomes a classroom, a ceremony, a celebration of survival. Because in the Arctic, a successful hunt feeds more than just the body. It feeds the spirit of a community. In the Arctic, even time and weather become tools, and knowing how to use them can mean the difference between a successful harvest and a spoiled one. The Inuit don't just process a walrus whenever they feel like it. Everything is timed with precision. The phase of the moon provides just enough ambient light for night work. The direction of the wind tells them whether the meat will freeze too fast or not fast enough. Some hunters even claim they can smell an approaching storm. and adjust their schedule before the first snowflake falls. This isn't guesswork, it's inherited knowledge. Snow type plays a surprising role. Powder snow is used for colder storage. Packed snow holds in slightly more warmth. Hunters build snow pits to take advantage of these differences, creating microclimates where meat stays at the perfect temperature. Never too warm, never too frozen. They construct wind blocks out of snow walls to shield their workspace, and sometimes dig shallow trenches to keep blubber pliable during cutting. It's like setting up a butcher shop in the middle of a blizzard, only the walls are made of snow and the refrigerator is the air around you. Then there are the weather watchers, usually elders, who observe the clouds like ancient forecasters. They can predict meat-preserving conditions 48 hours in advance, just by the way the sky shifts. Certain cloud shapes warn of spoilage weather, while others signal perfect conditions. Processing locations themselves are chosen with care. Some have been used for generations, selected for wind protection, sun exposure, or closeness to storage areas. They even have traditional names, like where grandfather's harpoon broke, a nod to history etched into geography. Timing in this world is everything. A few hours too late and meat starts to freeze into uncuttable slabs. Too early and spoilage sets in. Inuit hunters walk the tightrope between these extremes with a skill built over centuries. Because out here, even the clouds have something to say, and those who survive are the ones who know how to listen. In the Arctic, survival is never promised. But for the Inuit, it's more than survival. It's tradition, unity, and purpose. Every hunt is built on generations of knowledge, where modern tools meet timeless wisdom. The walrus gives more than meat. It gives meaning. This isn't just a hunt, it's a way of life. And that story will continue, one generation at a time.